let's talk about the pros and cons to long-term renting. Okay, very common. The nice thing about this is it's very common. Most people are participating in this in one way or another, either as a renter or as a landlord, or maybe as both. It's a proven way to build wealth and equity over time. It's not necessarily a huge time commitment unless you don't do a good job at qualifying your tenants. So it's pretty standard stuff. Now, the cons is it can be really hard to cash flow in certain markets. So people in Vancouver, Toronto, places like that, when they buy properties, they're trying to buy for appreciation, right? Because most of the time they do not cash flow in those markets. There's even markets in Edmonton where properties don't cash flow very well either, right? So you really have to run your numbers well and run them for the long term. Don't just be like, what's happening right now? Like, can this weather the cycle? There's always a cycle going on, guys. You're just at a different point in it, okay? Longer term liabilities on capital expenses. So the longer you own it, the more stuff you're gonna have to do, right? Eventually, you're gonna have to do a roof, a furnace, a hot water tank, a toilet, a refrigerator, a something, right? So although that's, high five. Okay, no problem. Eventually, you're gonna have to spend some capital output, probably in larger lump sums, to fix some of these things. So the best thing to do is always build in a maintenance reserve budget. So, you could use a percentage, so maybe 5%, 8%, 10%. It probably depends on the age. Like, I know there's people who build brand new properties to rent. They rent them for 10 years and then they exit them after 10 years when the maintenance starts to come up. So you can do all kinds of strategies. Me personally, I like old existing stuff that I can buy with value and try and get as close to that 1% rule as possible. Okay, the other downside is tenants typically leave in 1 to 3 years, okay? You do sometimes have these tenants who will stay for years and years and years. Like, so my wife's grandparents, they rented a house in North Edmonton since 1960. She just moved out. They literally rented it for like 62 years. It was crazy. I was like, we actually tried to buy the house just so they could stay renting it, but the guy wouldn't sell. It was the guy who owns the Blue Willow restaurant in Edmonton, funny enough. But yeah, they basically paid that house off at least 2 or 3 times, probably even more, because what did they probably pay for the house in like 1960? It was crazy. And they actually did the roof and stuff there, but I think their payments still to this, just when she just moved out this year, were like $900 a month for a house. But 60-year tenant, that's not a bad deal. I actually also, if I have tenants that are like 4 or 5 year tenants, I usually don't want to raise rent on them too much if they're good. Especially like we had this one tenant for 7 years. They never called us for anything ever. They e-transferred the first of the month, and they just like, we never heard from them. I think because they knew the rent was low, so they didn't want to like call us, and us be like, yeah, this should probably be like $500 a month higher. So it was like a really good relationship. If they never called me, I never called them. We just enjoyed life. I cashed the checks. It was all good. Yes. If they're paying on time and they're good people, I almost never do. Now, if they're saying they have maintenance concerns and stuff, I mean, it depends on your profile, right? Like, I am a hands-off guy. I want to be in Florida enjoying the sun at the lagoon with my kids. I don't want to be dealing with toilets that are overflowing in Edmonton. So if they are, I refer them to maintenance people who will fix that kind of stuff. If they're not and there's no issues, that's good. I mean, once a year, usually we'll send that, we do give like gifts and stuff for Christmas and things like that. So usually they'll give us, hey, thanks for the gift, whatever. I'll just say, hey, how are things going? If they say, oh, it's great, good. Sometimes they'll say, oh, it's good, but I think the fridge is almost dying. We'll say, okay, call so-and-so and get a new fridge. Like, it's all good. So have good people on your team, good maintenance people. Like, if you're going to do a lot of rentals, you're going to need someone who can just go around and do odd job type stuff. Like, the most common stuff is like the floats in toilets. They'll just run. You want to deal with those, especially if you're paying for water, like in multifamily stuff. Appliances go quite often, right? They don't build appliances like they used to. Like, we got an old fridge back there that is like from the 70s. You can't see it, John. It's behind the bar, but it's like one of those old school like avocado green ones, and that thing just lives forever, right? Yes.
Do you get all your tenants Christmas gifts, and what do you get them? And why do you get them?
It depends. So why? Why? Because you want, look, it's still a relationship, right? It's a business relationship. If you're structuring it right, they're paying for all your expenses and hopefully some of the profit, so you're making some money. You should reinvest some of that profit into the relationship, I think. So if it's like a multifamily building, usually we'll do like a nice card and probably like a gift card for something, like nothing crazy. It might be like $25 or whatever, and depending on where it is. If it's a higher tenant profile, anytime you can personalize something, I think it just makes it that much more impactful. Was it you or which one was the one that sent the letter? Oh, it was Dustin. Was talking about how he was talking to this guy, and the guy was getting baptized in 2 weeks or something. He remembered it and sent the guy a, hey, congratulations on your baptism card. And the guy gave him a deal just because of that one little thing. So that $10 card turned into a like $10,000 profit for him, right? So same thing with tenants. Like if you're trying to build that relationship and keeping a good open communication with them, they're going to be more receptive, so that when stuff does come up, they're not going to be like, oh, screw this guy, never looks after whatever. They'll be like, oh, okay, let's just call him and get it dealt with, right? Because eventually you may also need to be showing the property if they have a lease ending. So you want to have a good relationship, so you can come in, you can show tenants, you can get another lease starting right when they move out, right? You also don't want them to trash the place. So I think it's worth the $20, $30, $40, $50, maybe $100 a year to build into your cash flow, just to build that relationship. So I recommend if you don't do it, you try it out, see how it works for your portfolio.